are live. Yes. Is this Ring Kings podcast or is this Lunch Break Hot Take? I don't know. What's going on, LBHT crew? Yes, we got the Ring Kings crew up in here as well. Got our man OTR Mike. Mikey, what's going on, bro?
Yo, if we had a clap button, I would say clap it up. I watched my first full UFC card tonight.
Yes.
It took me a little while, but I promised y'all I would do it.
Yes.
So, yeah. But I'm good, man. I'm here.
How'd you like it?
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah, what'd you think of it?
You know what? I liked it. Now, I'll be honest with you. Once y'all welcomed me to East Street earlier today, the first Street. I asked you guys, I said, all right, who am I looking for? Who am I looking at in this first fight? He's like, you're the guy with the pink hair. Now, that fight, I'm like, all right, this isn't helping. This isn't helping me, get into this.
Yeah.
The guy with the pink hair being Sean O'Malley. He fought Pedro Munoz and ended up in a no contest because Pedro got poked in the eye and said, "You mean I can get out of here without a loss?"
Yeah.
But by the way, and what's up to everybody in the chat? We got Ferris and Suge, and I got Derek, Mr. J. What's going on?
Mr. J. Okay.
When Mikey said E Street, he meant ESPN Plus pay-per-view.
Yes.
That is the E Street. So
yes.
Continue, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was.
And if you're asking what E Street is, nothing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, if you don't know, then you shouldn't come on that block. Then if you don't know what E But then the second fight made up for it, right? The Sean Strickland and Alex. No. That was the Robbie Lawler. Yeah. Now that fight made up for it.
Brian Barberena.
Yeah. So
with the mullet hawk.
Yeah. But so I actually liked it, man. I did like it. I have a new favorite fighter, and I'm sure I'll mention that sometime tonight. So yeah, I liked it, man.
What's up,
Danity? Man, y'all
here 1:30 hours of the night.
I know. I'd be shocked when I see people come in here at 1:30 in the morning, man. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. All right. Hey, make sure y'all hit that like button. I see you should. Yeah. Should say I'm drinking.
Well, Danny, because we're talking UFC and we're trying to keep Ring Kings strictly boxing.
Yeah, I mean, we sprinkle a little UFC in there. I don't want to confuse people a little bit. We did do a UFC type of stream on there once.
Clearly, mission failed. Right? What's up, Caleb?
Yeah. Look. The real reason is because we want to keep y'all guessing. How about that?
It's all under the same umbrella. So
it's and keeping y'all guessing is how we get the views.
Yeah. And,
what's up,
Hendo? And shout out to Caleb, man. Caleb is at. You were at the expo. Did you go to the actual event? But either way, Caleb got some good pictures with some fighters, man. Shout out to you. I hope you had a good time. Shout out to Shaheen. Says unusual hours for you guys. I'm surprised, man. It's UFC. And it's UFC event. Unfortunately
for Mikey.
Sure, love you too, bro.
Okay, just the expo. Oh well, man, he had some amazing pictures. He took a picture with Valentina Shevchenko,
Joanna.
Yeah, Joanna. Yeah. So it looked like he had a good time over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So Mikey got it started, man. The first fight, Sugar Shane, that ended in a no contest, accidental poke in the eye. I really hate how these. I can't see how much I dislike these fans that go to these fights, man. Like the booing, the man could not see out of his eye. Yeah. All right, he couldn't see. And people are just boo. Listen, if they got poked in the eye, first of all, they wouldn't made to the eye poke. They'd already folded over. Right. Most of those people booing, right? It is what it is, man. Like it sucks. But don't boo a guy that's injured. He's injured. All right. Fight's over. It sucks. And like Mikey said, the next fight more than made up for it. Robbie Lawler. Look, I'll say this about Robbie Lawler. He puts on the show when he fights. He may not win the fight, but he puts on the show.
And by puts on the show, what it means is he doesn't know how to defend. Danny, I'm only up right now because I threw my mother a birthday party. Well,
happy birthday to your mom. Yes. All right. That's what I'm talking about. But I want people. So look, that fight, it was going Robbie Lawler's way in the beginning. He looked really good. Good to have movement. He was tagging. I forget the guy's name. Barberena. Yes, Brian Barberena, and he it looked good, but Barberena threw high volume punches.
and the thing is, like, he didn't look like he was throwing hard punches at all. They looked like really soft punches. Barberena's face was all jacked up. He had a couple cuts. He was bleeding all over the place. And then all of a sudden, Robbie Lawler's head was bouncing left and right, and he started saying, I'm gonna parry everything. And he was trying to go, left and right and just block the punches. And he couldn't. He's 40 years old. He couldn't keep up.
Yeah. So Barberena got the knockout. But good solid fight. I don't want to call it. I mean, they're calling it a great win. I mean, you beat a 40-year-old man. I'm not gonna call that great, but
signature win. They say.
Signature win because it's a familiar name. It's a memorable fight. So okay, I don't want to take anything from Barberena. Shout out to Barberena. Look, a win is a good win.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, congrats. Next fight, Alex Pereira. Did I say it right? Yeah. Alex. The guy.
That's not even right. It's Alex.
The guy that knocked out Israel Adesanya. Did he do it twice? He beat him twice. They both knocked out?
He knocked him out once. He's the only person to ever knock out Adesanya in boxing,
in
kickboxing, or MMA. So that's kind of, in case you were wondering, because they really let you know that repeatedly. Yes. They're pushing for that fight. They want him to fight Izzy in MMA for that title,
and that's gonna be the next fight.
Yeah,
that's gonna be the next fight, and he looked good. He looked good.
He looks good every time.
Yes, every time he looks good. He looks like he's gonna be an excellent fighter in UFC. I butchered the name. I know.
And that's now my new favorite UFC fighter.
Okay.
I know. I text you guys, and I'm like, "Yo, this dude looks scary."
Yeah, the sweet left hook. Yeah.
So I was confused. Going into the fight. Like, they showed the guy Strickland. He was ranked, 4th or something like that. Pereira, whatever his name, Alex. He was not ranked, but the pre-fight video, I'm like, yo, hold on. Like, is this dude like? It just showed, like, I didn't know if they was overhyping the guy or if he was just that guy. But he looked very scary.
He looks that guy. Apparently that's how. I mean, I didn't see him in kickboxing, but apparently he looked exactly like that in kickboxing as well. Like, he would just murder people.
Yeah.
And now he's in the UFC. I think that was his 3rd or 4th fight in the UFC.
That's the 3rd one I've seen.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
And it's going exactly the same way. So yeah, they're fast tracking him for a shot at Artasanya.
But this is the thing I don't like about UFC, right? They're trying to fast track that fight because he's the only person to really, really beat Adesanya. I mean, Adesanya lost to Blachowicz, in light heavyweight, but like this man beat Adesanya, right, in kickboxing. So they're trying to get build up that drama, but let him fight some of these other middleweights first. There's a lot of good middleweights, right? Like Jared Cannonier. We're gonna get to that fight in a minute. But he's a good middleweight. You have Robert Whittaker, who he's a great middleweight. He's just one slight step below Adesanya, right? There's a lot of guys in that weight class to where you can have him fight some of those guys and really hype him up, not just give him more experience, but also hype him up some more. And then that would be a huge fight. But knowing UFC, they'll try to make that the very next fight. And if he loses, where do you go from there?
You know what I'm saying? I really love how it's going, because I was telling our nephew Sadiq that it's playing out kind of just like the plot of Great White Hype.
Yeah.
The Samuel L. Jackson movie where, Israel Adesanya is James Roper and he's beating everybody and there's nobody to challenge him. And they go way back in his past and find the one guy who knocked him out. And they talk, and then Roper finds out and he's like, man, that was like 20 years ago. I kill Howdy Doody now. And that's essentially what Israel Adesanya said after the fight tonight. He was like, I told you that was my mistake. That's not going to happen again.
Yeah. All right. So before we get to that fight, let's get to the co-main event. I was disappointed, but I gotta give all the props to Alexander Volkanovski. He washed Max Holloway, man. I picked Max Holloway to win only because the first two fights I thought Max Holloway won, right? The second fight, I thought he just straight up got robbed. I don't know what the rest were looking at in that fight. Yeah, it was a little close. Like, it didn't look like tonight's fight, but I thought Holloway clearly won the fight, and he gave it to Volkanovski. So I thought, okay, Holloway, he wouldn't get back in there. Next time they fight, he'll finish the job. But Volkanovski just stepped his game up levels. He looked like he couldn't be touched. Oh, and shout out to Anonymous. Oh, you know what? Let me make sure, because it's not coming up on my screen here. Let me make sure I'm streaming this properly. I am not. Hold on one second. I'm going to. Did you put that up, B?
No, I'm trying to get it now.
Okay, all right. Don't put it up again. Hold on. I'm going to hop out for a second and hop right back in. I got the wrong setup. Sorry about that. Hold on a second.
But yeah, talking about Volkanovski and Holloway. Volkanovski was just operating at a different speed than Holloway was tonight. Max could not keep up with him, and I mean, Volkanovski was kind of darting in and out. He was landing whatever he wanted. Max had a couple of moments, and he was able to land a few times, but he just looked like he was going at a half speed from Volkanovski, and just all night couldn't catch up with him. Had a just awful, disgusting cut on his eyebrow. It was split open the first time because he caught a right hand in the second round that split him open, and after that round when he went back, it almost looked like the cut man accidentally peeled the part of his forehead back, and I was I don't like it.
That was bad.
They were using Q-tips, and the Q-tip was like disappearing all the way inside
was in his head. Like, it was a bad cut. What? It was a Devin Haney type wash fight for me. Like that's how I mean, he controlled the fight, the whole entire fight. And but that cut, I just felt like, that cut kind of, set him behind. I don't even if he didn't get cut, I don't know if the fight would have been any closer. I'm sure it changed some things, but it's just hard to recover from a cut like that. I don't care what anybody says. You see blood pouring into your eyes.
Yeah.
The cut man is trying to. You look at the cut man's face, and the cut man's face is like, what the hell?
Right.
Like,
what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah, that's gonna shake you up a little bit. So,
right.
All right, sorry about that. Okay, I wanted to bring this on the screen. Shout out to Anonymous for the donation. He says, appreciate all the work that's put into these shows. Man, appreciate you, Anonymous. Thank you. And thank you for coming through at 1:42 in the morning. Man, thank you. That's what I'm talking about. And if you want to be awesome like Anonymous and you want to make donations, there are two ways to do that. This is how we do our super chats. Okay. First one is right next to Mikey, $ LBHTShow. That is our Cash App. Also, the pin link that you see in the comment, that is our Stream Elements. Both ways, you go there and just make a donation, leave a comment, and you'll get a nice little message right next to my face on screen there. Okay. We'll read it on air. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe. Plug Cap, what's going on? It says Volk should have screamed, "I'm the best boxer" to Max. He probably did. He screamed something to him.
Well, I don't know if he screamed that to him. I think he screamed it to the announcers. Very early in the fight.
He said he was too fast for him. I heard that.
Yeah.
And then I heard you guys talk about the cut. When he cut him, he said he's like, "Ooh!" As soon as he hit him, he was like, "Ooh, that looks bad." Right? Like. Yeah. Volkanovski, man. Hey, shout out to you, man. Like, I slept a little bit. I knew you were good, but I always thought Max Holloway was better. But you're clearly the man at what are they, featherweight? You're the man at featherweight.
And he said after the fight that he's cleaned out that division. There's nothing for him, and he's looking to move up to 155 and fight Charles Oliveira. And he wants to be a 2-division champ and just stay busy in both divisions, defending both titles. And I mean. Yeah, I would love. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
You know, I personally, I'm with you. I thought that Holloway won the first two fights. So I'm like, it's 2-1. But this fight was a clear outlier in their trilogy, right?
Yes.
The other fights, you know, they were much closer fights. This one, Volkanovski showed that he's a level or two above everybody else at featherweight at this point. So yeah, absolutely. Why not move up and see what you can do with those guys at 155?
The only other fight, I mean, like I said, he cleaned out everybody, but the only other fighter that I might say give him another shot is Ortega, right? Because Brian Ortega, I don't know, Mikey. That's another fight you could watch, man. Like he put him in, was it a guillotine choke?
Yeah, well, he had him in a couple different submissions. He choked Volkanovski to death more than once.
Volkanovski's
he did not die.
Volkanovski's whole head went purple.
Yeah,
right. We thought the fight was over, and then he popped out of it
and just started beating on him.
He jumped on him and started just beating on Ortega.
I don't know, like dude doesn't need to breathe. Apparently, it was incredible to watch. I don't think Brian wants any more of that.
Yeah.
Ortega gave every single thing he had in that fight. He almost came away with a win, but he got pummeled instead.
Yeah. But yeah. So I mean, yeah, great. I mean, not a great fight, but good win for Volkanovski. Yeah, he cleaned them out. I don't think any of the judges scored any of the rounds for Holloway.
No, it was 50-45 all three cards, which was
clean
disappointing.
Sweep. Yeah. All right, and then the main event, Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier, and another one where it was just, I mean, it wasn't a clean sweep, but they could have easily scored it the same way. Crowd was booing there, no surprise there, right? Yeah, people complaining about that fight, calling it boring. No more boring than the fight before that, right? But you know how UFC fans are. There's certain people that they don't tolerate that from. I'll leave it at that. I'm pretty sure Dana White will probably say the same thing about the Adesanya fight because Dana White is a terrible promoter. Mm-hmm. I understand. Plug Cap says I understand Izzy ain't knocking dudes out no more, but I don't think it's necessarily boring. It's not boring. But
I don't find his fights boring at all.
Me neither.
Watching him and break guys down, just striking is very entertaining. Yeah.
So this has always been my issue with UFC fans, right? When we got into UFC, right, it was because you had a lot of fans, like our nephew who's a big UFC fan, and they talked to us about like the the different style, how it's better than boxing, because you gotta go to the ground as well and all this stuff, right? There's a lot of different things that you need to know in mixed martial arts, and once I understood it, I grew to love the sport. But it just seems like UFC fans don't really love mixed martial arts because anytime there's, it goes to the ground, there's a lot of booing. Anytime, you have fights like tonight where there's good defense from Izzy, he's not really giving up a whole lot of room to get hit. And somebody like Jared Cannonier, who's very powerful, who's a knockout artist, just looked like he just couldn't do anything out there. Like that was a lot of skill shown. And a lot of fans will hate that kind of fight, and it's just like that's because you don't love the sport. And the reason why you don't love the sport is because the person that runs the sport doesn't love the sport either. Like you guys want to see blood sport, you don't want to see skill, right? There's a lot of skill shown tonight.
And as tonight, not one of these fights went to the ground once.
Yeah.
And you still got some booing when like Cannonier got Artasanya on the cage and they stayed there for a minute or so, and there wasn't just strikes going, being thrown nonstop. Not a very patient crowd this evening.
So Adesanya, I can understand you expecting to see a little bit more fireworks because Adesanya is very entertaining. And he's had some very flashy knockouts, right? But he's a champion and he wants to hold on to his belt. And sometimes fights are going to be boring because when the other person that you're fighting is a very dangerous fighter. Cannonier is a very dangerous fighter, and you can't get careless with them. You can't go out there and try to sell out just to knock him out just so you could put on the show because you could get knocked out. And I told you guys earlier, hold that thought on Robbie Lawler because I wanted to bring him up, right? because people will say the best fight of the night was Robbie Lawler, right? Robbie Lawler getting knocked out. And people will say, hey, at least Robbie Lawler will go out there and
go out on a shield.
Go out on a shield. He'll go out on a shield. At least he'll do that. And there are a lot of people that'll say, I'll take that fight over. I'll take him over Israel Adesanya any day. Well, Robbie Lawler has 16 losses. Okay. Robbie Lawler has 16 losses. Is he more entertaining? Yes. That's at that expense. 16 losses. Mm-hmm. And he loses. Anytime he loses just like that.
And I think, I don't think he's more entertaining. I don't think it's fair to say that he's more entertaining when what his fights are is I don't know how to play defense. Like, the fights are more entertaining because he's getting punched in the face a lot. But him himself, I wouldn't say. Like I said, I'm more entertained watching Artasanya, show off his technique and not get hit like that than I am watching Robbie Lawler get knocked out again.
Yeah. So, okay. Ferris says UFC fans are scoring lovers and their ex is boxing. Yeah, I mean, you get these type of fans in boxing as well. Like, it's not just a UFC thing. Mm-hmm. You get these fans. I mean, because that's how people were for. Shout out to Anonymous for the donation. That's not coming up on my screen. I don't know why. Hold on a second. I see it here. Let me make sure I'm streaming this properly. Make sure. Hold on. Oh, I see why.
Nobody is hating on Robbie Lawler. Like, he gets hit a lot. He gets knocked out now. Like, it's not skillful what you're saying with Robbie Lawler. He's brawling at this point, to an extent. I mean, obviously, but that's what it kind of devolved into against Barberena, and I don't find that more entertaining than seeing Israel Adesanya. Everybody likes to see punches connect and all that, but you can have that in skillful fights as well. And I just don't think that's what you're getting with Robbie Lawler.
Is he usually winning his fights like that? And then it ends like that?
He used to. He's old now, and now he can't. He's that guy that he's lost a half step, right? And so he can't keep up with the punches anymore. He's not really taking the punches as well. So I mean, he's not that guy anymore, And I think that if you watch the fight with Rory McDonald, that may be where it kind of started to turn for him. That was a really, really brutal fight. But now, at this point, you put him on the card if you want to see some blood.
All right. Now, let me see if you guys see it. There we go. Shout out to Anonymous. That message cut off. It says, now transfer that hard work into getting me Austin III.
It's not happening.
Hey.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Just give me Olave back.
Now, if you don't know what they're talking about, this is fantasy football. Okay. We have a dynasty football league that we're doing. Okay. If you want to be a part of that, well, you can't be a part of it this year, but you can be a part of the regular fantasy football league that we're going to start up closer to the NFL season. Patreon.com/LBHTShow. Okay. We'll talk about those tiers in a minute. We'll get to that. But we got 3 tiers, right? If you got as little as $3 in your pocket, go ahead and sign up. Trust me, you won't regret it. Okay. But yes, look, Robbie Lawler. I'll finish this point. Robbie Lawler. A lot of these UFC fans will say, yeah, give me Robbie Lawler. Give me Robbie Lawler. He comes through every time, right? But when it's all said and done, when you think about the all-time greats, Israel Adesanya's name's going to be up there. You will never talk about Robbie Lawler. No. Okay. Robbie Lawler will be somebody, when somebody brings him up, they're like, oh yeah, I remember Robbie Lawler. Yeah, he was fun to watch. Right. That's the difference. And to be great, you have to bring it every night, and you have to be on point every night. Not just bring it, but you gotta be on point every night. So, sometimes the fights look like this, and I can respect it. I didn't look at this fight and say, it was boring, whatever. Like, I can respect it. It was a good fight, good strategy, and came out there with the win. So,
You can't boo anybody that has quite possibly one of the greatest ring walks that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's including boxing. So I mean, listen, one thing I'm learning UFC, right? I'm a huge boxing fan, as you guys know, but it wasn't hard for me to watch and realize what was going on, right? I saw a very skillful fighter there, and I've only seen him fight maybe one other time before this. So I didn't see a reason for the booing, but again, you have those type of fans, and like you said, Zay, it's in boxing as well. They hear a name, and they see highlights and what they expect of this person. If it doesn't go that way, then they boo or whatever, or they didn't get what they expected. But yeah, I didn't. It wasn't a boring fight. It wasn't. It wasn't like horrible to watch or anything like that. He didn't look bad. He dominated the fight, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you don't know what Mike is referencing, if you didn't see the fight, Adesanya came out to the Undertaker's music. He had the Undertaker's hat on. He was carrying an urn that said Jared on it. It was pretty funny. The fight itself, yeah, I mean, I thought that he worked the jab a lot. Adesanya is always throwing feints and kind of testing out other fighters' response. And there was a lot of that, and there was a lot of just popping the jab in Cannonier's face, a lot of leg kicks and a lot of just evading Cannonier's offense. And yeah, I mean, it's if you're rooting for Cannonier, it's a very frustrating fight to watch because he can't really get to Adesanya. Later on in the fight, he tried a couple of takedowns. He never got him down, but he was able to get him onto the cage, land a couple shots there. That was probably the best offense that he mustered in the fight. So if you're somebody who doesn't like Adesanya, if you're tuning in to watch him lose, it's a very, very frustrating fight to watch. If you're just tuning in to watch a fight, you're seeing a great fighter, ply their craft. There's nothing to boo about there.
Yeah, I mean, very similar to Floyd Mayweather, right? People, they say the same thing about him. Oh, he runs, he's boring, but you'll pay to watch him every time because you're hoping somebody can get to him. And it wasn't until he retired that you realize nobody could hit this man, because you could say, hey, Adesanya didn't do anything in this fight, but Cannonier is the one that's trying to get the belt, right?
And the other thing is, if you continue to watch his fights, he will tell you who the actually good fighters are. Because Jared Cannonier is a good fighter. Yoel Romero, a good fighter. Paulo Costa, not a good fighter. Because when you have a good fighter in front of Adesanya, he's more cautious. And you see this, and he scores points and he defends himself and he gets the decision. Right, and then everybody boos. Oh, that was boring. When he fights Paulo Costa, who he knows, he looks at it and says that guy's not a threat at all. He puts him out of there, knocks him out, humps him on the ground, goes into the back, and has a party with the DJ who was waiting for him because he knew he was going to win the fight.
Yeah. So disrespectful. Disrespectful.
It was extremely disrespectful.
And look, I don't want him to do that to Mikey's new favorite fighter, which is why I think Pereira. Is it Pereira?
Pereira, yeah. Just
okay. Pereira, because
call him Alex.
Like I don't want to do it to him because look, this guy looks really good. Maybe he is ready. Don't know. But 3 fights in, and then you get a title fight, which is what I think. They haven't announced anything yet, but I think that's what's going to happen next. I just think I just don't like how the UFC does that, man. There's plenty of fighters in this division that he can fight. Let him fight some of these guys. And yeah, I bush it again, Ferris. Whatever. Let's hear you say it. Let's hear you say it. But I want to see I want to see him fight some of these other guys and make sure he has his, he's truly ready, and you build his name up even more so that fight can be even bigger. Because if he goes in there now and if it's like what Adesanya said, hey, that guy will never be able to hit me like that again, and he doesn't, and Adesanya just puts him away. That's just another hype job that's come and gone.
I don't think. I mean, I hear what you're saying because I don't like the way the UFC does that either. They did it with Michael Chandler. I believe it was his second fight. He got a title fight and he got knocked out, and then he got in there again with another good fighter and he got beat badly. But I think Alex is clear. You know, I think there's no question that he's ready. I mean, he's a very experienced fighter.
But fair says right here, let him fight Robert Whittaker. I agree.
Well, yeah, no, and that would be fine. But I'm just saying, I don't think there's any question that he's ready. You know, he's fought Adesanya a couple of times already. He's a very experienced fighter. He's, I believe, 34, maybe even a little bit older than that. But he's ready for the fight. It's just a matter of, is it fair to the other fighters in the UFC to just have him skip ahead of the line and go and fight Adesanya? Now, in this case, I think, you know, Adesanya is pretty much cleaned out everybody else in the division, so he's not really skipping ahead of anybody necessarily, but you do still want to see him work his way up the way, you know, you're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
To your other point though, I don't think that they would be able to make it any bigger in terms of like hyping him up, because that's just, the UFC's just bad at that. That's not a thing that they do well. So I mean, even if he goes in there and he fights Whittaker or somebody else and looks impressive, the UFC is not, I don't know, they're not set up to capitalize on that kind of stuff.
Know. If he beat Whittaker, that would be huge to me.
I don't think casual fans don't know who Robert Whittaker is. So I mean, it wouldn't mean anything in terms of the hype for the fight. Like everybody to whom that would matter already is hyped up to see this fight.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys a question. Do you think these guys, you know, they jump at these type of fights so soon because they don't want to, because UFC seems like a sport that, I mean boxing is the same way, right? But I'll say 95% of the time, right? The better boxer, the favorite, usually comes out victorious, right? Now he might have an off night and it might be closer than expected, but they usually find a way to win, right? Mm-hmm. It seems like with UFC, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like that, I mean, on any given Sunday, right, as late as it comes on, that, you know, anybody can win just because of how the sport is, with a punch or a kick or a takedown and somebody getting choked out unexpectedly. It seems like it's more of a chance for the favorite to lose in UFC, right? So do you think they jump at this fights because they don't want to, you know, like if you say this guy fights Robert Whittaker and he loses, right? Does that take his chance away? And then B, the second side of that question is, do you think they jump so early because, I mean, you know, the money isn't like it should be, right? So like this is their big money fight. So you think they jump at those big money fights early and risk the chance of losing and then their career being crap because they lost so early?
Well, here's the thing with UFC. I think they do jump because, you know, you want that money, you want to kind of advance your career and things like that. But a loss in MMA isn't the same as a loss in boxing,
right?
You know, losing once or twice is not gonna derail your career necessarily. But to your point earlier, yeah, the chances of upsets are greater in the UFC because, you know, you have much smaller gloves. There's a lot more ways that you can get beat. I mean, if you just look at Zhang Weili, right, who went out there and had a 5-round war with Joanna, right, and they were just beating on each other for 5 straight rounds, and she never even really got hurt in that fight, right? And then you go and she fights Rose Namajunas, and Rose kind of dances around for a second, kicks her in the head, and she's out. You know, like it really is, even more than in boxing, any one strike can end the fight immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hold on, and Ferris makes a point about that. But first, I want to give a shout out to Fat Boy Carr for coming through. He says Izzy should go to light heavyweight and fight John Jones. That might be in the cards down the road, but right now John Jones is going to fight at heavyweight.
Yeah, John's not at light heavyweight anymore, so I don't think he's going to move back down there to be fighting anyway. And, you know, Izzy moved up to light heavyweight already. And he lost to Blachowicz. I don't know that he's really planning on moving up again.
Yeah, maybe not right this moment, but he might. Who knows? And Ferris, to what we're talking about, he says exactly like that's what makes Kamaru Usman, GSP, George St. Pierre, Khabib, Izzy, John Jones, and those guys so special. Pure unmitigated domination, and that's the point I was going to make. Is like, yes, there is more chance, a bigger chance of a fighter losing, right? But as these fighters get better, right, you have champions like what Ferris is naming. Those guys, you're just not going to catch them slipping, right? Because they have advanced the sport and they are way more skilled and they know what to do, what not to do, more so than their counterparts, which is why sometimes their fights might seem a little bit boring because they understand this fighter does this really well and I can't get caught with that, so I'm going to play it safe, right? So, I'm going to be on the defensive. I'll hit him with a counter if he comes in, but otherwise I'm going to keep the fight at a safe distance. I'm going to have good takedown defense, things like that will keep that will keep the belt around my waist. And those are the fights that fans don't like. They want to see those fighters go out on the shield, win or lose. And, to be dominant like that, sometimes you got to risk having a fight like that. I mean, risk the fans booing every now and then. And some of these UFC fans don't like that. They're used to the Nate Diaz or the Diaz brothers going out there and just brawling it out. And yeah, you love it, you remember it, but they stack up losses, right? So
even when you have fighters like that, though, because Demetrius Johnson was a fighter like that.
Yeah,
in the UFC, he's one of the greatest fighters of all time, and he looked like he was so dominant, and his IQ was so high. There were times when he looked like he was like he could tell the future, like he was reacting to what his opponent was going to do before they did it, and like he would dominate high level fighters. And then he was kind of traded out of the UFC to another promotion.
One championship. Shout out to One Championship, man. I like their league, man. They're pretty dope.
And he's fighting lesser competition there. Not bad, but lesser. And he got caught with a knee while he was on the ground and got knocked out in, I believe, one of his first fights over there.
Yeah. That wasn't. Nah, that was like maybe like his fourth or fifth fight in. But he's older too. And the rules are different. You're allowed to knee on the ground over there, which you're not allowed to do in UFC.
Yeah, but that's a rule that he was in favor of. Like it's not like he didn't know the rules. I'm just saying that like he's a guy who was so dominant. And then, I don't want to call it lucky, but a guy catches him with one shot and it's over.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, like a loss or two isn't the same as boxing. Even now, like boxers take losses, right? Very few finish their careers undefeated, but a loss isn't the same in mixed martial arts as it is in boxing. But even with that loss, I think that might be like his second loss or third loss ever in his career. Because like Ferris said, Jaime Cejudo didn't. He got the decision over him, but he ain't really beat him. D Weezy says paying fighters would derail the UFC in Dana White's eyes. Yeah. So that's the other part of what Mikey was asking, like why these fighters are so quick to jump at getting these fights. Yeah, a big part of it is money and pride, because UFC sells these fighters on the glory of being a champion, right? Fighting at the top, the highest level, and early on in their careers, that's what it's about. I just want to go out there and show that I'm the man. I just want to go out there and show I'm the champion. And UFC Dana White has sold UFC as the anti-boxing, right? We're going to give you the best matchups every time. There's not going to be a whole lot of posturing. It's not going to be, you don't have to wait forever and years for these two fighters to fight, because I control the sport. I'm going to tell these fighters when they need to fight. So anytime there's any talk of, can this person beat this person, Dana White makes it happen. So we did a video on our Ring Kings podcast. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Right, Ring Kings podcast. Check us out. We did a video about Jaron Ennis and should Errol Spence be his next opponent. Right, those type of questions happen in boxing all the time. Could this person beat this person? And sometimes we find out down the road, years from now, whatever. In UFC, it's the opposite. If somebody brings it up, what would happen if this person fights this person? Then that's the next fight, right? Dana White makes it happen because Dana White's a fanboy and he doesn't understand promoting fighters, developing fighters, things of that nature. If Dana White was running boxing, Jaron Ennis would be fighting Errol Spence, and that'd be it for Jaron Ennis, right? So, I mean, look, any Jaron Ennis fans out there? Because I don't want them. We got the comments already on our last video. But that's the thing. That's the thing about it. And yes, the money is a big part of it. And you heard it tonight throughout the broadcast. Some of these fighters calling, they'll call out Dana like, Dana, give me this fight with this person because they want the money, right? The one guy said he wanted more money in a bonus, right? And fight bonuses, because they get fight bonuses because they don't get paid anything. They don't get paid nearly enough. Jared Cannonier, who fought Israel Adesanya tonight, it was a couple fights ago where he talked about basically he was broke, right? He needed some money. He's like, I keep fighting, so I ain't got no money. He's been fighting for a while now. That should not happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, here we go. Fat Boy Kai says Jaron Ennis fanboys is crazy, boy.
Yeah, we found out.
Yes, we did.
We wasn't even dissing the kid, man.
No, we got it. We got it from Jaron Ennis fans, Errol Spence fans, and Bud Crawford fans.
Bud Crawford, yeah.
That was crazy. That was crazy. But Mighty Mouse has 4 losses. Okay, yeah, 4 losses. Yeah. That's over a long span of his career. So
yeah,
that's a great record. Let's see. Yeah,
the losses don't, like, the record doesn't matter as much as in boxing. I think there was a guy tonight on the prelims, Jalen, I want to say Turner, maybe. I'm sorry,
Jalen Turner, yes,
yeah, who they said was on fire. He was 12-5.
Yeah,
and they said the guy's on fire.
My bad, 5.
And he won again tonight. So now he's 13-5, and people are like, nobody wants to fight this guy. I'm like, well, 5 people did. So I don't know.
All right, so y'all ready to answer some questions for me?
Yes. First, I want to give a shout out to Maziko Chembe over on Facebook. I see he or she dropped a like on Facebook. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. All right, so those are the ways that you can watch this stream. Also, I'll put it out as an audio podcast as well. We do audio podcasts, so wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. Lunch Break Hot Take. All right, and also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at LBHTShow. So go ahead and make sure you follow, and also drop a follow at Ring Kings Podcast at Ring Kings Pod at those places as well. Okay. Question time from our newest UFC fan, Mikey.
Yes, I'm learning. I'm learning, guys.
Yes.
So, a couple things stuck out to me in watching UFC that I'm not used to with boxing, right? So I'm like, all right, I got to ask my guys this. One, I asked you guys offline, but I'll ask for the people. I heard them keep talking about Artasanya and the guy that won the fight before them.
Yeah.
Volkanovski.
Yeah.
Yes.
That, I heard them saying his teammate won, hopefully his teammate will win later or whatever. So I asked you guys, I'm like, what's that all about? Like, are they teams in UFC? Is it like kind of like boxing set up? Like, are they stable mates? Or is it like really you got like teams? Like, I didn't know. So I asked you guys that.
Yeah.
And then one other thing that stuck out to me. So does UFC provide the cut man? Because I noticed like the same cut men for each fight. It was, they would flip off, but it would be like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
oh, okay. The cut man question, I'm not sure. Probably. Because you also gotta realize like these fighters like outside of champions,
they don't have the money, right?
They don't make a whole lot of money.
It's their own cornermen, but again, like they kind of coincide, I guess. Like Ferris is saying in the chat, Volkanovski and Adesanya, they're in the same gym. And he's saying that UFC does provide the cut men, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous. But yeah, they those guys they train at the same gym, so they just call it a team. They all name their teams, and it's a little silly. I think, but whatever.
But essentially, it's just the gym that they work out together. It's fine. It's fine.
So it's kind of like the Charlo brothers and Spence, right? They all in the same gym.
But what is a little different is, these teams, these gyms, they are a little cliquish, right? Because you leave one gym, go to another gym, there's beef. There's some gyms that beef with other gyms, and I mentioned. Oh, go ahead. B.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, like, I mentioned to you offline about Ultimate the Ultimate, what was it called?
The
Ultimate Fighter show, right? And there was a season where you had two gyms battling it out, right? They had these fights and they get points and all this stuff, and the owners of the gym didn't like each other. So that was the drama there, but then that spills into the fighters, and then fighters leave, and then they go to another gym, and well, I don't like you because you left the gym. It's childish, but that's real drama that happens in MMA. You don't really see that in boxing, though.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, sometimes there's just drama in the gym itself. Masvidal and Colby Covington were on the same team, and then they had their falling out, and it was a whole big thing. And they were like, oh well, they kicked I believe it was Covington, out of the gym, so he had to go find another gym to train. I'm like, why? Just schedule them for different times.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, ATT and Black Zillions. That was a season. Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, why would you? I mean, I don't like Colby Covington, so good, but why would you kick out a top fighter, or kick a top fighter out of your gym because he's not getting along with someone else? Just tell him don't show up at the same time.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. But yeah, that's the cut man thing. When you ask that, I never thought about that, but when you asked that, I was like, it has to be provided to them. Like, they don't have these guys don't have the money for a whole team like you do in boxing, right? Yes, the gym, like, you have your cornermen, yeah, they work at the gym, right? But those other guys that they don't work at the gym, like, you have to hire them. So it has to be UFC provided. Otherwise, which
would explain why the one dude was peeling back Max Holloway's forehead rather than stopping the bleeding.
I'm sitting the whole time, like, when he's trying to stop that it looked like he struck an artery. It was bleeding so much, right? Like, I was waiting. I was like, yo, are you not gonna put any Vaseline on there at all? Like, did you not notice that? Like, he just kept on like pushing down on it with the swabs, and then he was sitting back out there. I was like, aren't you?
And he's like, let me get that back in there.
I'm like, aren't you forgetting something, sir?
No, he was putting Vaseline right at the very end.
Yeah, he was trying to wait.
When they blew the whistle or whatever, he would take it out and put some Vaseline real quick.
Yeah,
and be like, all right, you're good to go.
He would have the Q-tip up there, and then he would go right real quick, because that thing was man, that was.
I wouldn't want to touch it either. Jorge and Colby didn't pay their trainer. Well, that's a whole nother issue. But they didn't kick out the other one, though, did they? I don't think that's why they got kicked out, or Colby got kicked out.
But that dude that was the cut man for the Callaway, like, he did the next fight, and I was just like, wait.
No, I mean, listen, it's Max Holloway, but like, talk about having a bad night. Your fighter got a 8-inch deep gash in his forehead, and you couldn't stop it, and you're like, all right, you're up again.
I'll tell you what, if that were boxing, that cut would have stopped. That bleeding would have stopped. Okay, those cut men in boxing, they do magic. They do surgery without the proper tools. Okay, they do surgery with a swab. If Max Holloway had the cut man in boxing, boy, he'd have had a brand new face.
Or they would have stopped the fight because he had a gigantic gash in his eyebrow that was bleeding into his eye for not for 5 rounds, but for the last 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I was thinking watching that. I'm like, man, are they going to stop this? Because boxing, they would have stopped that with that gash.
Yeah.
That can cause permanent damage to your eye, just letting blood flow in. It's not supposed to be in there.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, no, not UFC.
So, and then another thing, right? This is a little odd, but I'm watching, so I'm watching everything. Okay, before they go in the ring, right? They take off their clothes. They do. So
hold on, let me read it. Let me read this for the audio podcast. For your listeners, Derek Weatherly posted a comment, said Clint Eastwood from $1 Million Baby would have closed that cut. All right, go ahead, Mikey.
So, okay, before they go in the ring, I know they do all their checks or whatever. Why do they pat them down like they searching for something and they don't have no clothes on?
You never know, man. Like you never know.
I get checking behind
like
they
go pull out a shank or something.
Yeah, like all right, you check behind the ears, okay, but like they patting them down here, and it's like, bro, it's nothing. Like, where could they hide it? You know what I mean? So I just thought
prison wallet, Mike.
Yeah, I guess. So that was another thing that stuck out to me. Okay, so I noticed that they were some fights were 3 rounds and some were 5, right? So is that just like boxing? Some are 10, some are 12.
Yes.
In UFC, only championship fights, main events, and sometimes co-main event. Well, no, because that was a championship fight as well. So the main events and championship fights are 5 rounds.
Okay.
All the other fights are 3 rounds, unless they just decide they want a fight to be 5 rounds. Then it'll be 5 rounds as well. But typically, it's main events and championship fights, and then everything else is 3 rounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. I was, I'm learning, man. I'm trying to make sure I understand everything.
Ferris caught that prison wallet comment from B. Yeah, Ferris said shorts became red. Yeah, it's crazy. At the end of the fight, Volkanovski was covered in blood and none of it was his.
Mm-hmm.
They went to go stop the bleeding from his eye, and he touched it. He's like, oh, that's not yours. He's got a clout, just wiped his face off, Man, yeah. Holloway.
It's just nasty, man. Like UFC, they got to experiment with some disposable mats. Like, you got to change that thing out between fights. Like, people just be like, I mean, it wasn't even bad tonight. Like, I've seen fights where guys would get cut open and they'd be on the ground and getting choked, and they're just, you see blood just streaming out of their face onto the mat, and like they disinfect it right between fights, but it's just blood stains all over the mat, and I'm like, this is disgusting. I wouldn't go in there after everybody else and have my fight. I'm not doing that. Right. Put the main event first, then.
That's a good point, because like you said, nobody went to the ground tonight. If that Holloway fight went to the ground,
oh man,
yeah, but that happens a lot in UFC, right? People be bleeding, and then they a lot of the fight ends up on the ground, and just the blood smears everywhere. It is disgusting. You're right.
Yeah.
Fat boy says, I don't remember Volk ever being bloody. No. I'm sure he's a little bruised up.
Yeah, he had some blood on his forehead, and that came from Max, but during the fight, but that was it. But yeah, he's not there to be hit by people in that division.
Volkanovski looks damn good, man.
I imagine that'll change when he gets to 155, but we'll see.
We'll see. I think he can beat Oliveira.
I don't think he can. I think he's too small. I mean, he's already extremely small for the division he's in.
Yeah.
I don't think that he'll be able to handle the guys at one, because like in 145 right now, even though he's a smaller guy, a shorter guy, when he gets his hands on, you saw it tonight with Holloway, when he wrapped him up, he was able to move him wherever he wanted. He put him up on the fence and held him there for a bit. He won't be able to do that at 155. And I think those guys are they're going to be taller, they're going to have longer reaches. He's not going to be able to dart in and out the way that he can right now without getting hit. Now, Oliveira specifically, Oliveira likes to almost get knocked out in the first round of every fight. So we'll see with him.
Listen, I'm not down Volkanovski anymore. Okay, like I'm just going to sit there and say yes, he can beat all of them. Okay, sorry. He made me a believer. But we'll see. Let's see if he moves up, and let's see what his next fight's gonna be. Fat Boy Ka says Dustin versus Volkanovski would be a good fight at 155. Yeah, I agree. I think he beats him. I think he beats Poirier. All right. All right. So what is the next UFC event?
The next UFC event, we got Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunez, the rematch. Yes. That is, I believe, at the end of this month. And then after that, you got Usman and Leon Edwards.
So, Mike, just so you know, Amanda Nunez is my favorite fighter in the whole entire world. Okay, and she lost the last fight, which broke my heart. But she will get payback. You know, I think. Look, I don't want to take anything away from Juliana Pena. She's a good fighter, but Amanda Nunez has been dominant for years. Yeah. For years, right? And I think you know, she's getting a little bored. Right, she kind of slept on Pena, who's a very good fighter, and it caught up to her. But now she's focused again. Okay, she's doing Ultimate Fighter this year, and you know she's locked in, and I think she gets her revenge. She gets her belts back.
Yeah, I think that she got married, she had a kid, and I think she kind of let it. I don't want to say went soft, but kind of lost focus a bit. And wasn't really prepared for that fight with Pena. And it showed like she wouldn't adjust at all. Like Pena was, they were doing essentially the exact same thing, and Pena was just beating her to the punch every time. And she was like, whatever, I'll hit her next time. And it just, never really happened. And so I think that she's going to come back much more focused. And I think she's going to run through Pena this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So it was that big of an upset?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna call Pena Rockman. I think
Pena's definitely Rockman.
You think she's a one-hit wonder?
I didn't say Rockman was a one-hit wonder. Wow.
Look, shout out to Rockman. We love Rockman.
How you gonna do your boy like that?
Was another great fight, another great win he has.
I didn't say he had another great win. I'm just saying he wasn't a one-win wonder.
But no.
Look. Yeah, she had no business beating Amanda Nunez.
No. But Nunez is at that point. That's a crazy thing though. She's been fighting long enough to where how much more does she have left, right? Like those great ones. The great ones is hard. Like that's the one thing in UFC, right? You can just be unstoppable until you're not, right? Yeah. One day, they get in there and then it's just like, oh well, he fell back down to earth, or he or she fell back down to earth, and that's it. But I tell you what, man, Nunez up to that fight looked like she could win those fights blindfolded. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if this is one of these fights where it was just, hey, she lost focus and she's back now, or this is pretty much the end for her. Either way, her spot amongst the all-time greats is already solidified. To me, she's one of the greatest fighters, man or woman, in UFC history.
Okay, the answer to your question is he did not have another great win, but whatever. I stand by my fact that was uncalled for.
Yeah, you wasted your time. I could have told you there wasn't another great
win. He had some great draws.
Yeah.
He had some great draws.
So,
but yeah. Okay. So after that, Usman, Leon Edwards, they had a pretty entertaining press conference clowning Jorge Masvidal, who has nothing to do with this fight. But I'm always here for that. Usman, if you don't know, there's kind of a behind the scenes scuffle a while back where Masvidal kind of hit or pushed or something Leon Edwards, and Edwards didn't really respond at the moment, and so people have been kind of clowning him, saying he can't really talk to anybody because everybody knows what happened with Masvidal, and he didn't do anything essentially, right? So Usman was kind of poking fun at that, bringing it up, saying he went and he knocked Masvidal's head to the moon or something to that effect. And he's like, and I did that for you because I like you. You should be thanking me.
Yeah,
and Leon, okay, because he said because you and Mandem didn't do anything, and and Leon Edwards responded that the police grabbed Masvidal and hid him from him, so he couldn't do anything. And Usman's like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry," but they were just kind of laughing at Jorge, and I'm like, I don't. If I'm Masvidal, you got to be angry listening to that, but what can you do about it?
Nothing. The answer is nothing, because both of those fighters are just way better than Masvidal, right? And Usman already proved that. We all know. I mean, Usman's knockout of Masvidal, even if you're not a UFC fan or MMA fan, you've seen the knockout. Like, you see his soul leaving his body, right?
Well, and if you like, you know what, I really like those little you have those like little cubes or kind of marbles or globes or spheres that have like the galaxy within them. Like some of them they use the lasers to put individual stars all around, and you just kind of look at it and it's a galaxy and an orb, and that's what Masvidal's head looked like. It was just a sweat galaxy coming off of the punch. But yeah, Usman proved that he was the far superior fighter. And then Masvidal himself proved that he runs away when he sucker punched Colby Covington outside of a restaurant and then ran. So yeah, there's not really anything that he can do or say. He's not trying to get in the cage in the octagon with any top fighters anymore.
No, I wouldn't either. Look, my thing with Masvidal is, and this is supposed to be talking about Usman and Edwards, but Masvidal was never that guy. He just got popular off of that 2 second or 3 second knockout, and he capitalized on it. I get it, right? But he was never on that level of these other fighters. He was never that guy. But for Usman and Edwards, this is the second time they're fighting. Usman beat Edwards the first time, and he'll probably beat him again. And when that happens, really, what's left for Usman? Comes out Chimaev, maybe, and even that, all right. I don't think Chimaev is ready for Usman.
He may not be ready, but that would just kind of be he's not really on that level, because he's kind of tearing through the division. So
he just beat Brian Burns. That was a good fight.
Gilbert Burns.
Brian Burns.
He could never beat Spider-Man.
Look, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm sorry, but Dorino Burns, Gilbert Dorino Burns. He just beat him. That was a good fight, actually, and Chimaev showed a good chin in that one. I don't see him beating Masvidal. I'm sorry, and you're right. I think it's just one of those things. He's just not. Gilbert Burns did beat up Chimaev, but Chimaev. Look, I thought Gilbert won the fight, but it wasn't a robbery. I wouldn't say it was a robbery. But Chimaev looked good too, right? That was a good fight, and Chimaev showed he had a chin. He showed some heart. But I think if he tries that with Usman will knock him out, just like he knocked out Gilbert Burns. All right. Usman is just on another level. Mikey, I told you, like, the Africans are taking over UFC. Okay, you have Usman, who's Nigerian, Adesanya, who's Nigerian. You got Ngannou, who's from Cameroon, right? Like they taking over, and they holding on to their belts. All right.
So who's the best fighter?
They're different shapes, and they come in different shapes. Ferris, what do you mean? The best fighter in the UFC,
pound for pound,
probably Usman right now.
Yeah, Usman and Volkanovski probably right now. Well, I'll say Usman, Volkanovski, and Adesanya.
Adesanya, yeah.
So it's those three. If I had to pick one pound for pound, it's got to be Usman.
Yeah. Because Adesanya, yes, he went up to light heavyweight and he lost by decision. Even though we still feel like he won that fight, but he lost. He lost to light heavyweight, came back down to middleweight, and he's dominating middleweight, right? Like he's dominant. He looks great. Usman doing the same thing, but he is destroying these cats, yo.
And the thing is, Usman's getting better. With each fight, because like he didn't really have much of a stand-up game, and he's added that, and he's kind of lapping that division and coming back around and saying, I'm going to beat you again, but I'm going to beat you worse. Like he already beat Leon Edwards, So this is a rematch, and I feel like he's probably going to beat him worse.
He already beat Usman twice. He beat Masvidal twice.
Yeah.
He beat Covington twice.
Mm-hmm.
If he beats Edwards again, he's beaten Edwards twice. Right? Yeah. Like, I mean, and these are the top fighters. These are really good fighters. So, like, he's coming back. Everybody that he's going to fight from here on out, outside of Chimaev, he's already beaten. Right? Yeah, he's the first person to beat Tyron Woodley. Woodley was at his peak. That kind of derailed Woodley after that. He wasn't the same fighter.
Yeah, but in hindsight, it's not that impressive of a win because it may just be that Woodley got old and
maybe
just didn't, because it was at the time. It was like, wow, this guy he dominated Tyron Woodley, who was one of the top fighters in the UFC, completely dominated.
It's hard to say because right before that, I mean, the fight right before that, which wasn't that long before that, because Woodley was fighting like 4 times a year. Woodley looked amazing. He looked dominant. In fact, was that the one where he beat Darren Till? Was that the fight before? And he was laughing at Dana White because
I want to say that the fight immediately before that was Damian Maia, but I'm not 100% sure.
You might be right. It might be Damian Maia. You might be right.
But when you get old, you get old. Because if it was just, hey, Usman is that much better, I would not expect him to look that way against Colby Covington or any of the other people that he fought. He looked exactly the same against every other fighter after Usman. So I think it's just he got old, and it is what it is.
And shout out to Yahya Suleiman says, please, who won between Israel and I think you're talking about Cannonier. Israel won, unanimous decision.
Yeah, it was Darren Till. The Damian Maia fight was before that. He beat Stephen Thompson, Damian Maia, and then Darren Till, and then he lost to Usman, lost to Burns, lost to Covington, and lost to Luque.
Yeah.
Before he was out.
Yeah. Yeah, he won. Yeah, he choked out Darren Till. That was the Darren Till fight was the fight where, so Dana White was planning on getting rid of Tyron Woodley, right? He wanted to kick him out of UFC, but you can't kick out a champion, right? And nobody was beating Tyron Woodley, and Darren Till was this up and coming fighter, right? He was hot, and they wanted to fast track him to beat Tyron Woodley because at that point people were calling him boring and this and that, and they don't like him, and they really thought this was a guy that was going to get Tyron Woodley up out of here. And the talk was, if he lost that fight, they're going to kick him out after he lost that fight, and he completely washed Darren Till, right? And Dana White, usually he doesn't do it as much anymore, but usually when a champion wins, he's the one that puts the belt around the champion, right?
Yeah.
So there are pictures out there you can find them where he's putting the belt around Tyron Woodley like he is pissed, right? Because him and all his buddies are all planning on him being out of there, and he's still the champion. And Tyron Woodley just laughed his ass off. Like he just laughed at him like he thought I was gonna lose to this boy, But the next person to beat him was Kamaru Usman, and that wasn't really Dana's choice fighter either. So yeah.
Where was he at tonight? I didn't see him.
Who, Dana?
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, no, I didn't see him there either. But these aren't his favorite people.
Yeah. All right. So we've been streaming for over an hour. It is 2:37 in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you for hanging out with us, because I'm about to fall asleep right now. I am tired. But yeah, if you guys if you stayed up and watched the fight, leave a comment and let us know your thoughts on it if you're watching the replay. If you are new here, our guy Yaha Suleiman, I don't know what you're asking, Yaha. He said he's asking you're with JR. I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean, but go ahead and hit that subscribe button though, Yaha. Okay, I appreciate you coming through and hanging out with us.
No, they're saying that's not what he want. He was with I guess with Jared. He wanted out Israel to lose, I guess.
Oh, you want a Cannonier to win. Right, I'm sorry.
Still hit that subscribe button.
Hit that subscribe button, man.
Your son was rooting for Cannonier too. He was that was a massive trash talk he was throwing at his cousin there. I don't know if you saw the text message, but I mean it was brutal.
I didn't see it. David is a classic hater too. And shout out to the people that everybody was watching on Facebook. Yes, we were streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch and Twitter as well. Everybody that was watching over there, appreciate it. Yeah, Fair says you can't believe you're still up. I can't believe I'm still up. But thank you. But thank you for coming.
I told them half an hour. It's like what I say just doesn't matter.
You did say half hour.
It's never half an hour. It's never half an hour.
Hey, blame UFC, man. Like, I don't get it. They put you in the trick bag because, first of all, one thing I like about UFC is like after the fight ends, 5-10 minutes, it ain't even 10 minutes. That next fight is about to start, right? It's none of that extra ring walk. Oh, we gotta wait for such and such to ring to warm up before they come out. They come right out, and I like that. So it makes it seem like it's moving, but then you look at the clock, and it's like, wait, it's almost 1 o'clock, and this fight is over.
It's because they don't start till 10.
Like I think part of that is because a lot of times they have these events when there's boxing events going on as well, right? Mm-hmm. So they want to last longer than the boxing event. Boxing usually ends around midnight, so you can still see the main event for UFC at 12:30. All right. There wasn't nothing else going on tonight, though.
Wasn't nothing.
You could have started it earlier. No,
I mean that's just their time. They start the prelims around 6, and it's just going from then.
They can do this whole thing earlier. I'm sorry. This is I don't like it.
Because nobody gonna like. As I say, you have the early prelims, and then the prelims, and then the main event. Because you just have too many fights on each event. It's a couple hours of early prelims, couple hours of prelims, and then the 5-fight main card. Mm-hmm. Don't care about the early prelims. Tell them to fight another day,
or fight earlier.
I won't tell them to fight earlier. I mean, I know the fighters are used to fighting it in the evening, right? So you know what? You fight on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. One last comment. Ferris says the broadcast of boxing events are trash. ESPN broadcast of Haney Kambosos was trash. It was
bad.
It was bad.
ESPN last couple have been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Just from it being either a horrible undercard to the main event, or it's just like the timing in between and all the fluff they threw out there to try to. It was bad.
Jamming commercials in between rounds, and you don't get to hear any of the corner talk.
Oh,
sometimes you get the start of the next round.
Yeah, it's been
because there was a progressive commercial.
Yeah. They got to get that cleaned up somehow. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. We ain't gonna figure it out tonight. We'll figure that out on Ring Kings on our next live stream. All right. Mm-hmm. Make sure you subscribe to Ring Kings podcast. Let me bring this up so you guys, in case if you are new here, you don't know, you're wondering. I would love to see you guys talk about boxing. Well, here you go. Ring Kings podcast. Go ahead and subscribe over there.
I don't know what you mean. We don't know what the answer is. I know what the answer is. The answer is I pay for ESPN Plus. We'll stop playing ads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, and we'll leave it at that. Any final thoughts from you guys before we get out of here?
I'm very tired.
Yeah, I'm very, very tired, but I'm proud of myself. I watched my first full card.
Yes,
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the card, so I'll be back again, man. Y'all just gotta remind me because it seems like they're on every weekend.
They are pretty much.
It seems like it's a UFC main event card or something every weekend, but Yeah, just let me know, man. But I think I'm gonna stick with it for a while.
All right, we will leave it there, guys. You have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy 4th of July and all that good stuff. Eat some good barbecue. All right, and we will see y'all next time. Peace out.